So what's going on with Bitcoin in the crypto market? Let's have a crypto update. Starting with Bitcoin, it's doing well, 10,852. You can see this slow climb up from the bottom around 99.40. It went above 11,000 briefly, came down a little bit, but overall, it's heading in the right direction. It's just a slow incline up, which is very good at this point. And I have a couple articles that explain why volatility is actually decreasing and why that's good for Bitcoin. Now, altcoins, unlike Bitcoin, has seen some pretty big volatility over the last few days. Today is somewhat of a mixed day, so there are things that are in the green. For example, Ethereum, Polkadot, VeChain, some of these bigger protocol coins are going up and recovering. But the last few days have been really bad for almost the entire market. And it's one of those situations where it's really strange because Bitcoin was still holding and on the rise, yet altcoins were selling off as if Bitcoin was dumping. So it's a strange scenario where I don't believe I have seen before over the last 3 years. Usually when altcoins drain out is when Bitcoin dumps or Bitcoin pumps in a drastic manner. It doesn't matter if it's going down crazily or up crazily. That's when altcoins, the liquidity flows out of them. But for the last few days, that wasn't happening. Bitcoin was still steady, just slowly going up, but altcoins dumped hard in a big way. And it's just really mysterious. It could be because people were anticipating that the Fed meeting was not going to go well and that there would be more weakness ahead, and people were selling off altcoins in preparation for that while holding on Bitcoin, because we know Bitcoin is now the new hedge against inflation. So it could be like that, but it's a weird situation I haven't seen before. Luckily, however, today we are seeing somewhat of a recovery. So you can see it's a mixed bag where something like Binance coin is still down 6%, but you see like Polkadot and Ethereum, they're actually coming up in the green. So today is kind of like a mixed day. You have NEO that has been doing really well recently, up 12% today. But then you have NEM, Yearn Finance, that's also down. UMA, IOTA, the DeFi ones are actually struggling really hard today, but a good one like VeChain is going up. DeFi has been showing a lot of weakness recently, a lot of weakness. And it could be due to one big thing that's happening right now, or it could just be because people realize it's gotten too big, right? That things need to cool off. However, with that said, I'm looking at DeFi Pulse, and that's not really the case. The total locked-in value is still continuing up. We're nearing 9 billion again. And you could see at one point, it got as high as 9.6. It came back down, but now it's climbing up a big way to 8.8 billion. So is DeFi really cooling off? No, people are still locking in their crypto. So what's going on? So why are some of these tokens reaching to previous lows, right? So if you look at some of these projects, you look at Curve or Balancer, Sushi Swap, some of these ones, why have they been dropping so much recently? I think it's due to one project, and I'm going to get to that in a little bit. Now, back to Bitcoin, I've talked about there's a couple articles that can help curb volatility and why it's good for the long term. Well, let's start with this, because a few days ago, there was fresh reports again that India was thinking about banning all cryptos, which confused me because I thought it was already banned, right? There's some back and forth. I guess the federal judges finally said that the banks, they can't shut out the exchanges, but I don't know if that really opened things up. But then there was fresh reports that saying the government wants to come out of the digital currency and wants to ban everything else. Now there's fresh reports saying that those reports were false and clickbait. So it's really hard to tell right now what's going on with India. But in terms of overall volume that's coming out of India, Bitcoin trading, crypto trading, still relatively small. But it is pretty significant news. You got over 1 billion people. So this does affect them. It's just that I really can't confirm what's going on. There's just so many reports coming out left and right. Bitcoin speculators hit all-time lows as Grayscale says BTC is acting like 2016. So this is pretty interesting. This is a brand new chart. Let's take a look at this. This compares Bitcoin holders versus speculators. People are just coming in and trying to make a quick buck. So if you look at around 2016, the green line is the speculators, the gray line is the holders, and you could see that they were definitely growing apart, right? At the beginning, end of 2015, beginning of 2016, where holders were pretty much at all-time high, and then the speculators were reaching an all-time low. Actually, it is all-time low. And at that point, guess what? Take a look at that black line. That is when the price started coming up. That was pretty much the bottom. When you have holders up here and speculators down here, and that's when price started going up because the speculators are out. They're not going to be selling. There's no one selling. Everyone's just holding. And that's why it started going back up, right? And then you could see the opposite happen when Bitcoin was going up to 20,000. You could see that the speculators were just skyrocketing. Everyone wanted to jump in, right? And then the holders actually dropped because there was so much speculators coming in, and then a reverse happened. And if you look at what's happening now, the holders are again climbing. This is as high as been since 2017, before the crazy run up, right? And you can see the speculators, they're getting bored again. Even though Bitcoin is around 11,000, they're getting bored. It's coming down. So this pattern is looking like this, at least the start of it. And if the holders continues to go up and the speculators stay down, guess what's going to happen? Bitcoin is going to continue rising up like this until a point where speculators then jump right in. Now, here's another one that shows the number of Bitcoin held for over a year. So again, showing the strength of holders. And the green line is the price, yet the black line is the number of holders, the percentage of it. And you can see it is rising. In fact, it's at all-time high right now. So, so this also shows the number of holders are actually getting stronger at this point, which is probably why Bitcoin has been so consistent, right? Has been holding, hasn't dropped below 10,000, even though the bears tried to push Bitcoin down. It just came right back up. The holders are really carrying Bitcoin at this point, and that's also positive. So volatility is shrinking, right, due to lower speculators, lower percentage of speculators, and holders being stronger. And guess what? That's going to lead to very big things for Bitcoin in the future. MicroStrategy, a company I covered before, they kind of made a splash a month ago because they decided to put $125 million or $175 million at the time into Bitcoin. And they're a business intelligence firm. They're publicly traded, but they basically turned themselves into a big Bitcoin bet. And they decided to double down that. So now they have put $425 million into Bitcoin. And according to CEO Michael Saylor, he says he wants to hold it for 100 years. Not that he's going to be around in 100 years, but that is his strategy. Basically, he is going all in. All in. First of all, I don't know how he has $425 million in cash sitting around. And most people would say this is pretty risky to put all that cash into Bitcoin. But he is a true Bitcoin believer. He is one of those holders. And this could turn out to be the biggest play ever for any publicly traded company. Because if Bitcoin continues to rise up and get to where we think it can go to, like 100,000 and beyond, think about that. That's going to be turning this 425 million into billions, right? Tens of billions. So this could be the smartest play ever. We'll just have to see. Kraken now is official bank. So they have gotten a bank charter in Wyoming, out of all places. So they now are official bank, and they plan on offering banking services and so forth. I think this adds to the credibility of Kraken. This is why I like US-based exchanges, because they have to jump through all these hoops and stuff, but these hoops actually protect the consumers too, right? So now that they're a bank, they're probably going to be heavily regulated, but I think this adds to their legitimacy and security and everything else behind the exchange. So this is pretty big news. Kraken is not the biggest exchange, and yet they got this before even Coinbase or Gemini or Bittrex or any of the other US-based exchanges. That's a pretty big deal. Lastly, I want to talk about this. And this may be the reason why DeFi coins have been selling off, because everyone is trying to jump in the new Uniswap token. Now, Uniswap, I've mentioned this before, when others have come out like SushiSwap and stole a bunch of assets away from Uniswap, the biggest advantage to all these other DeFi products that was acting like a DEX is the fact that they have a governance token. So the founders were getting rich, and everyone else that was involved with the token, if it pumps up, they would get rich, or they could get wrecked either way. But Uniswap didn't have that. They were just a DEX, a pure play, and the founders like, screw that, we want our cut. So they just announced that they were going to basically give out, what is it, $1 billion? Something like that, $1 billion worth of UNI tokens, and Coinbase, of course, decided to list it right afterwards. So this is a big thing now. Not only Coinbase, Binance, every exchange wants a part of this. And this could be the reason why DeFi has been selling off, because everyone is trying to buy in Uniswap because they are the most popular DEX out there. And I was looking at it, man, they have jumped up quite a bit, because Uniswap token is at 307 if this is accurate, and they're already worth 500 million in market cap, right? So if you look at the LM ratio in terms of market cap, 521 million, you look at the total locked-in value, 815 million, that's not bad. That's still over one. That's about 1.5, right? 1.5x in terms of locked-in value versus the total market cap. However, that's not good when you compare it to other projects on here. For example, Curve Finance, which has really taken a dump recently in terms of their token price, but they have close to $1 billion in locked-in value. But if you look at the market cap, it has dropped quite a bit. So let's bring up Curve. So they're at only $70 million, right? So this LM ratio is still kind of off. I'm still going to go with it, but there's definitely a discrepancy, right? It still really depends on speculators and how much momentum or how much pumping people are due. Because right now, if you look at, say, Curve Finance, way undervalued versus, say, something like Uniswap. But Uniswap is the big kid in town that everyone's really focused on them right now, because there has been a lot of project that's been pumped through Uniswap. So we'll see what happens if they can hold this 500 plus million market cap, or if they're going to continue up, and what that's going to do for the entire DeFi community. Of course, tomorrow is Friday, so make sure you join in my live session tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right, guys, take care. Hit the like and subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.